In January of 1990, ABC's market share in the Wednesday night 10 p.m. slot, or 9 p.m. if you lived in the West, was practically zero. The problem? Quantum Leap. Scott Bakula as Sam Beckett dominated the airwaves. It was NBC's answer to China Beach, ABC's Emmy-winning series starring Dana Delaney. It was a good answer because midway through the season, ABC had lost so much market share they gave up and moved China Beach to a new day and time. In its place, we found a brand new law drama about the goings-on in a DA's office. The new show was called Equal Justice. I couldn't tell you a thing about it because my family was so into Quantum Leap we saved up for a VCR so we could tape it. But lots of other people had plenty to say about it. Specifically, they took one look, said, it's a knockoff of L.A. Law, and went back to watching Quantum Leap. L.A. Law, brought to us by Stephen Bochco, the same man who gave us Hill Street Blues, was at least as popular as Quantum Leap. It was another cash cow for NBC, and all opinions were that Equal Justice wasn't equal to it. Equal Justice was canceled after 13 episodes, just enough to finish the broadcast season and take the country into summer reruns. And ABC had zilch to fill that slot. Enter Stephen Bochco again. He came to the network with the boldest, newest idea that television had seen in probably 50 years. The proposal? A police drama along the lines of Hill Street Blues, which at the time was still his magnum opus and the one everybody talked about. People had been after him for years to make a Broadway musical version of Hill Street Blues. He didn't want to do that, so instead he created a hard-hitting cop show with lots of action, social commentary, and interpersonal drama. And music. Late-night comedians pounced on it before it even started airing. Cops are in a shootout and suddenly they break into song. How crazy is that? They were relentless, so the show started with one strike against it. I can make fun of something with the best of them. It's what my channel is built on. And a lot of the time we do it using exaggeration. But for it to work right, the exaggeration has to be A, somewhat believable, and B, true to the source material. I don't believe I have to say it, but there are no songs during shootouts or any of the goofy stuff they predicted. And musical dramas have been around as long as music has. I found myself wondering if these guys would say the same thing about West Side Story, or Oklahoma, or anything with Fred Astaire. Those are just a few examples. What Bochco was doing here was along similar lines. The biggest difference is Stephen Sondheim could write Sweeney Todd, put it on Broadway and all the rest, and then move on to the next project. We created an hour-long musical drama every week, and succeeded. He called the show Cop Rock. We had a good cast headed by Ronnie Cox and Barbara Bosson. TV viewers knew Ronnie Cox from his role in the final season of St. Elsewhere. Movie viewers knew him from RoboCop and who knows how many other films. And he had an extensive musical background. In the final episode, he says he started out in the business as a singer. Barbara Bosson was also known as Mrs. Stephen Bochco, but she was an experienced actress and singer. Within an episode or two, it was obvious she got the role on her own merits and not because she was sleeping with the producer. As you saw, Ann Bobby is listed first, mainly because except for Ronnie Cox, we went in alphabetical order. At least one review that I read missed that and said it was nice that Ann Bobby got top billing. I'll have more to say about the reviews as we go along. Wednesday night, September 26, 1990 at 10 p.m. 9 Central Time, we got our first look at this incredible new thing. As we watch this, I want to offer a couple of quotes from a review written in 2016 around the time of the DVD release. Quote, the pre-title credit opening sequence depicts police cars roaring to a criminal hideout. The officers bust down the door, pull a drug-addled woman away from her baby, and arrest angry criminals. The cinematography is crisp and polished, the execution intense. The problems begin once the cops drag the criminals outside. The two men under arrest begin rapping. Music accompanies them and the concept reveals itself. This is a hard-hitting police procedural musical drama. Duh. That's how it was promoted, billed, and nobody pretended it was anything else. So you expected what? Quote, the biggest problem with the series? It never establishes a consistent approach to its musical numbers. Are they meant to be taken literally, or are they fantasies that spring from the minds of the characters? Is the show momentarily changing genres, or are we viewing an alternative universe where everyone in Los Angeles breaks out into song? The show never makes a firm decision, but juggles all of the above. All musicals do that. This reviewer is setting rules for the show that they would never set for, say, a Broadway musical. The real questions are, do the musical numbers fit the context they're put in, and how seamlessly do they integrate into it? Some songs are literal, some are fantasy, some are speculation, some are lies, some are narrative, some are dialogue, some are dream sequences. That's how you use music to help tell a story. Again, we've been doing this since the first caveman bonked himself on the head with a rock, said, "Hey, that sounds cool," and knocked himself out 4 times before he figured out he could hit other things, like his knee. My biggest gripe with the reviewers and late-night comics, both then and now, is that none of them looked at the songs. None of them broke down what did or didn't work. They just created caricatures, set up impossible criteria for their acceptance, and never gave the show a chance. They were more focused on the fact that these guys were rapping than on what they're rapping. Let's rectify that starting right now. As our reviewer said, the police drag these guys outside and they start rapping. What are they saying?
Because you son, he's not your dad, he's just a dumb white cop and you made him mad. Punk with a badge, call himself a man. Worked all his life for his 8 or 9 grand. Look real pretty with a gun in his hand. You take it away, he's a chump.
They're mocking the police. Gangbangers do that, and they've been doing it for as long as there have been police and gangbangers. But it's deeper than that.
In these streets, we got the power, we got the power, we got the power. In these streets, we got the power, we got the power.
They're saying, you're only taking them away because the rest of us are letting you. There's more of us than there are of you, and you're on our turf. Watch your step. The rest of the song expands on that, and they say, we'll be out by tomorrow, and we'll be watching for you. Kinda scary. That takes us into the main theme, written and performed by Randy Newman, while the rest of the cast watches and enjoys.
Days of sunshine, tears and rain, precious memories of years go by. Hours of darkness, fear and pain, all the time that we had.
You know, one of the things I've always loved about Randy Newman, most of the time I can't understand 1 word out of 10 that he's saying. You get the feeling that if he ever spits out that wad of bubble gum, then he'll be like, days of sunshine, tears of rain, precious memories of years gone by. We're watching the bail hearing for those guys they arrested.
My problem is, where do I put them? Federal District Court has held that current prison overcrowding constitutes cruel and unusual punishment. Given that convicted criminals are being let out early to alleviate this situation, and given the small amount of narcotics recovered, I'm going to use my discretion and release these prisoners OR.
OR, or own recognizance. In other words, he's trusting them to come back to court at a later date and face the charges. Yeah, I'm sure they'll put it in their day timers. Hey, I can do a 1990 pop culture reference just as good as the show can. The judge is willing to put the 2 women in jail on $5,000 bail, even though they really didn't do anything but be there. Patty Spence, the woman with the baby, is a crack addict. She pulled Officer Vicky Quinn, played by Ann Bobby, aside and spoke to her in private. Officer Quinn wants to go to bat for her.
I spoke to the baby's mother right after court. She was pretty forthcoming.
With what?
Names of dealers, locations of crack houses, phone numbers, beeper numbers.
Most of it's true and none of it is new information. But Vicky wants to release her anyway so she doesn't lose her child.
All right, I'll take care of it.
You think I'm a sucker?
I think there are worse things to be than a sucker.
Captain Hollander there is a complex man, but he always has what he considers his team's best interests in mind, collectively and individually. Some of them don't make it easy for him. Vicky Quinn may be the nicest person in the world. Her partner is Andy Campbell.
Why do you always have to drive?
Because I'm a better driver than you, that's why.
No way. I think you're a control freak. Some women are like that. I bet when you make love, you're always on top.
Wouldn't you like to know?
Yeah, it would.
My husband would kill you.
It'd be worth it.
Dream on.
Andy is young, handsome, personable, and an absolute hunk. If she can resist him day after day, her husband must really be something. We'll meet him later. Right now, we're in hot pursuit. Our backup is coming from all over the place.
Coming at you. There he is. There he is.
Officer Braden was looking forward to a shootout. And yes, he's dead. Their auto thief just became a cop killer while firing a machine gun on a playground with children nearby. But it's going to get worse. The shooter got away, but they caught the driver.
Look, I've got to go to the bathroom.
Drink it.
I can't drink anymore. You're part of me.
What's your name, Nelson?
No way, forget it.
That's Detective Vincent LaRusso. His partner there is Detective Donnie Potts. LaRusso is a loose cannon if there ever was one. He explains to this guy that there's nobody coming to help him. Nobody knows about all these violations of his civil rights going on in here. And if he pees himself, well, that's just too bad, isn't it? Nobody's leaving until he gives up the name of the shooter.
Tyrone Weeks, man.
Oh, jeez, man. Tyrone Weeks is one of the crackheads we picked up the other night.
He's one of the guys the judge released on his own recognizance, and now he murdered a cop. Actions have consequences, but you can't blame that judge. This was 1990 when criminals' rights were a big thing and prison overcrowding was a serious problem. No, the blame goes to the people who complain about things like prison overcrowding, but when a state or county raises the money to build a new one, nobody wants it to be anywhere near their neighborhood. Usually there's the money to build more prisons, but there's nowhere to put them because someone is going to gripe. So we wound up with situations like this all over the country. And 30 years later, it's still a problem, which proves how effective things like changes of administrations are. Until the people decide how bad they want it, nothing is going to change. The dead officer's partner is Frank Rose, played by James McDaniel. Mr. McDaniel is better known as Lieutenant Fancy from NYPD Blue, but that hasn't happened yet. He's taking the loss hard. While the captain is trying to get him to take some time off, Patty Spence is getting her little girl back.
There's my little Crystal the pistol. Hey, did you miss your Bobby? Did you?
I have some things for you to sign.
Kathleen Wilhoit had been around for a long time, and 4 years later she would land what might be her best-known role as Chloe Lewis, Dr. Susan Lewis's wayward sister on ER. She was a good choice here because she can produce that look that says, I've gotten it all wrong, but I'm still here and still trying to get it right and make it convincing. It helps that she's thoroughly musical and started out as a singer. We're still introducing characters, but let's get creative about it.
And I can't work like this, John.
What's the matter? You got a problem, Ralph?
You're damn right I got a problem. None of these hot shots around here know the difference between making the bust and making the case.
Hey, Ralph. Cop was just killed. Oh.
Yeah, well, I didn't get a single uncontaminated print off the van.
We know his name is Ralph, we can discern that he's the lab guy, and he probably has an enlarged prostate, and that's why it takes him so long to pee. There's one other thing we don't know about him.
Hi.
Hey.
I thought you were going to come by Kavanaugh's for a beer.
Yeah, I was gonna, but I wanted to get home.
He is Vicky Quinn's husband. Andy keeps trying to hit on her, explains how he feels about her, and she goes home to Ralph every night.
I love you.
I love you too.
Remember to wash the kiss mark off the top of your head before you go to work tomorrow. And this is a great place for a song. We have a perfect setup as the beautiful girl swishes away with a glance of love at her man, and he has to wonder, why?
Not much to talk to, and I know how I look. What I know about life comes out of a book, but of all of the people there are in the world, she chose me.
He can't understand it, but he's not arguing. Andy can't understand it, and he is arguing, but he's losing. She's hopelessly faithful, and he needs to quit asking.
Grab some Sky Stranger.
Chief, it's me.
That's Commander Warren Osborne and Chief Roger Kendrick, respectively. Ronnie Cox we all know. Enjoy this time with Ernie Hudson, because this is the only episode he's in. From the second episode to the end, Vondi Curtis Hall took the role of Commander Osborne. I'll talk more about that next time. The Chief is a frustrated cowboy. At least that's what he thinks he is. He's actually a frustrated 50s Western movie cowboy gunslinger. We saw that he naps with a revolver in his hand.
Why, you lily-livered sodbuster?
Draw, you varmint.
Oh, you got me, you sidewinder. Tell my mom that I love her.
He's not just a frustrated 50s Western movie cowboy gunslinger. He's crazy. We'll see him do that a few more times before the end of the series. Right now, he's doing a press conference about the slain officer.
This one should never have happened. The prime suspect in the slaying of Officer Gilbert Braden was in custody less than 12 hours earlier. He was released from custody. He was released without bail because some federal judge decreed there was no room in the jails. I beg of you, Mayor Plank, help us now.
Osborne wrote that speech for him. We'll hear later on how he does on his own. Let's meet the mayor of our fair city, Louise Plank.
The Central Avenue Correction Facility, which has been delayed by the Planning Commission, the City Council, and the Governor's Office, will be built on this location.
Some nice little pot shots there. She's subtly saying this is their fault. She's, making political hay off this man's death.
The new jail will be named for the slain officer, Gilbert Braden. And it will be open and ready to receive prisoners within 12 months. That is my solemn oath. And if anybody wants to oppose me, I suggest they try.
That's not likely to happen, partly because she's taking some action behind the scenes to make sure she gets her way.
It is a sad day for the city, Your Honor.
And it is. I'm going to be very direct here. I want this jail. I want it fast.
Yes, ma'am.
And I'm hoping you're the man that can build it for me. Are you that man, Frank?
You bet.
We get some of her background and how she rose from poverty to become the mayor of one of the biggest cities in the country. And yes, that case the guy is carrying is full of money.
Is it wrong to take, to cheat and steal and rob and lie? How can we go on in this cruel and empty way? Are we no better than the animals who prey outside? Of course we are. Of course we are.
Being willing to do all those things is what makes us better than the animal predators. She's been studying Batman logic. We saw a little bit of what kind of person Detective LaRusso is, but now we're going to get the long-form version.
Let's go. Let's go.
Relax, Si, would you?
Relax? How can I relax? Judge was ready to cut me a new bodily orifice yesterday, and we don't have such a great case here as it is, my man.
Worse, he threatened to seize the bar and give it to Ron. Vince was supposed to testify the previous day, and he just blew it off. He's ready to testify now. Well, almost ready.
I'll be with you in a minute, okay? Where are you going now?
I gotta make a wee-wee, Si. You wanna come and hold my hand?
The people call Detective Vincent LaRusso.
He's faking an injury. When he's under cross-examination, we'll find out why.
I went into that room just hoping I'd come out alive.
Aren't you being just a little overdramatic, Detective?
Overdramatic? Overdramatic? You see this? 3 days ago, I left my unit headed for a coffee shop. To have lunch, I get hit with sniper fire from a rooftop.
He's the kind of cop who will lie, plant evidence, torture a suspect, you name it, he'll do it. And his testimony is effective.
Sonny, the end is coming. I was abused as a child. Sonny, the end is near.
Commercials leading up to the premiere of the show prominently featured this song, and honestly, I'm not sure why. It's a great song and it fits into the narrative as naturally as a song can, but it's basically a gospel song complete with choir. That's not going to catch the eye of certain demographics, especially when it comes to age. I'm not sure who the target audience was here, but featuring part of the opening rap song, maybe some of the mayor's song, spread it around a little. Have some of this bit of wonderfulness, yes, but show people that there's something for everybody. I think that may have been the show's first big mistake. By the way, notice that his lawyer is singing along. This guy is truly screwed. Now that this guy is put away, LaRusso and Potts have gotten a warrant for the place that they believe Tyrone Weeks is staying at.
Hey, you guys!
What happened?
We got him.
What do you mean you got him?
Tried to escape and we nailed him, man.
Where is he?
In the house.
He tried to escape. What's he doing in the house?
This isn't good.
We were watching from the car like you said to do. Paul and Webster were covering the alley. When he exits the house in a hurry, we start to tail him. He makes us and runs back inside. Now, I figure if we don't go in after him, he's gonna just come back out blazing.
In other words, they entered the house without a warrant, which they didn't have because Vince and Donnie hadn't gotten there yet.
Your boy screwed up, man. No warrant, no ID.
Hey, guys. You had it stashed in the toilet tank.
And he's handling it, so now it's got his fingerprints all over it. Did anybody train these clowns about chain of evidence and all that, or did they win their badges in a raffle? The bust is completely blown. The cop killer is going to walk.
Go sit in the car.
LaRusso,
Go sit in the car! Right there! Go sit in the car! Stand him up, Donnie.
You gonna read me my rights or what?
Hey, Tyrone.
Or not. That will be one of the defining moments of the whole series. He starts wiping down the machine gun while he and Donnie get their story straight. But when Captain Hollander arrives on the scene, he has questions.
They're saying Weeks went for his weapon and he shot him in self-defense.
That'd be consistent with my findings.
I see cuff marks.
They're old.
They don't look old.
Why, thank you. We use oil of Olay!
They're at least 3 days old.
Is that what you're saying for the record?
Yeah.
The questions won't go away.
Here's what I think, LaRusso. I think that what happened here was murder.
What's Internal Affairs think?
Internal Affairs bought your story.
Then get out of my face.
Should have been a little more humble, Vince. It's a vendetta now, and he's not going to let go of it. As the sun goes down, we see Patty Spence with her little girl sitting on a bus bench near the rail yard.
Close your eyes now, little girl. They don't want to hear you crying. You never had a chance, you never had a chance.
This song will rip your heart out of your chest and make you take a good hard look at it. She's been to the police station multiple times offering information for money, but that well dried up. All they can do is help her get into treatment, which means losing her baby.
Sandman's coming soon, you know he's coming soon.
We viewers have a choice here. We can focus on the fact that it's an obvious doll she's holding, notice the arm never moves, or we can listen to what she's singing, we can hear the words and hear the despair in her voice, and understand what this young woman is feeling, alone, hungry, and homeless,
Hi, how you
and
doing?
desperate.
I'm Glenn. We spoke on the phone.
Hey, she's a real doll. Yeah.
200, right?
Yeah.
The fact that there are children living on the street at all is an indictment of our whole system. We call ourselves a Christian nation. We call ourselves the greatest country on the planet. We have children, babies, living like this. Until they all have a roof over their heads and food in their stomachs, we ain't no such thing. And again, I have to say, here it is 30 years later and not a damn thing has changed except the names. And yes, she sold her baby for $200 to get drugs. Oh, Glenn assures her that these people will give little Crystal a very good home and she'll have a way better chance in life than she would with her mother, yada, yada, yada. And Patty will use all that to justify it and tell herself she did it for Crystal, not the addiction. And she'll even manage to make herself believe it. For a while. As the sun goes down, we see Patty Spence with her little girl sitting on a sitting on a BB Baboo.